Hello and welcome to Ambre, my first Let's Play on my YouTube channel. So yeah, it's an heartbreaking novel, as they said, and it's from Steam. You don't have to buy this, so okay. I would like to play this, but first the options. Music, songs are okay, I guess. Language is English, of course. Yeah, and save. Wait, what? How can I... return. And, okay, let's start the game. It was 7 p.m. On a beautiful yet cold autumn day. The wind shook the frail tree's branches across the street. Do I have to press enter? Yeah. Tristan Mallory made his slow, tired way. A whirlwind of leaves caught his attention and he stopped to contemplate them for a few minutes. A spray of colors danced around him, fragments of red, orange, yellow spread at random, forming a mosaic that stretched on for as far as the eye could see. A rush of beauty in that grey and foaming city, that noisy metropolis that was constantly exhaling pollution. Coming back to his senses, the 30-year-old man shook his head. Now wasn't the time to be daydreaming. He had to go home. The long day already weighed on his shoulders, but if he was completely honest, work wasn't the most tiring thing in his life. After all, an honest, well-paid job was somewhat of a luxury these days. Like any model employee, he constitutionally accomplished the task handed to him, no more, no less. No, what was really destroying him was completely different from former fatigue, an appalling and crushing solitude that had been shadowing him for years, ever since his wife. The light tinkling in the front door open brought him back to earth. He was already at his flat. A sad and silent living room was waiting for him. A shiver traveled down his spine as he entered the room. Driven by an almost desperate urge, he didn't even bother hanging up his coat before slamming open all the doors in his flat, one after another. Each time the same emptiness answered his pleas. He felt a rising dread within. His last hope, the last door, the forbidden room beyond. He opened it slightly and peeked inside. Of course, there was no one inside. He fell heavily onto the sofa. The crushing solitude came back in full force, crushing him again and again, wounding his face with invisible cuts, the cuts of time. It was happening again. All of a sudden, Tristan Mallory felt immensely exhausted. He held his head in his hands, staring at the floor for a long time. After what felt like an eternity, he abruptly got to his feet. He gathered all of the framed pictures on display and stowed them away in a closet. The memories needed to be out of sight. When he was sure that there were no more pictures sticking out, Tristan put his coat back on and rushed outside. It was chilly and a bit dark, but there was still enough light to see clearly. It was the ideal time to take a walk. At least, that's what he once might have thought. As he hurried along the sidewalk, Tristan was anything but relaxed. He walked around the places that were most familiar to him, looking for a serenity that seems to be definitely out of reach. While passing a park near his home, he suddenly heard a high-pitched, almost inaudible plea. While passing a park near him, he suddenly heard a high-pitched... His heart jumped and he stopped. In the dim light of the setting sun, he made out the silhouette of a little girl sitting on a swing with her head bowed. Tears were rolling down her cheeks. Afraid of startling her, he approached slowly and took a closer look. Her clothes were crumpled. She had neither a coat nor a scarf, and she bore various scratches, as if she had been in a fight. The park was completely deserted, and she seemed to have been there for a while. For a second, Tristan Mallory felt a temptation to abandon her there, to leave her to her fate, but very quickly he mentally chastised himself. He couldn't do that. So he placed himself in front of her and asked in a soft voice, "Is something wrong?" At first the little girl seemed not to hear him. She choked on her sobs, hiccuped and shuddered. Patiently, Tristan Mallory stroked her hair and repeated, "Why are you crying? What happened?" It took her several minutes to calm down a bit, but eventually she wiped away her tears and answered with a faint voice interrupted by sobs. "I don't know. I think I've lost something important, really important, but I can't remember who it was." Tristan Mallory sighed, feeling a mixture of compassion and pity. She seemed so lost, so vulnerable. He wanted to hold her so tight that her sadness would melt away, but at the same time a voice within was telling him that he shouldn't be too forceful, that he should be aware of her vulnerability. So he tried to stay composed and looked reassuring. Yet in front of this little girl he did not feel confident at all. "Are you all alone? Where are Mommy and Daddy?" "I don't know." "Do you live far away from here?" "I don't know." "What's your name?" "Ambre." "Well, Ambre, you can't stay here out in the wind. You're going to catch a cold eventually, and you don't want to get sick, do you?" "No, I hate being sick." "See, you've got to go warm yourself up somewhere. It will be night soon." "But I don't know where to go." "In that case, what do you think about going to my place? It is not far away from here, and it will be a much better place to sleep than the swing." Ambre seemed worried, but she had no other choice but to follow him. He gently reached a hand to her. For the first time she lifted her eyes. They were washed out, blurry with tears, and hesitant. He thought it a good idea to force a smile to appear reassuring. Even with the fatigue, Tristan Mallory showed the most convincing smile he could, and took her hand, so fine and frail, to help her get to her feet. The young girl's steps were wobbly and weak. She had probably not eaten all day long. Carefully, he led her to his place while making sure she wouldn't trip. The man removed his coat and shut the front door behind them. "Make yourself at home. I will cook you something." Passing through the kitchen, he turned on the light in the living room so that his flat would look less gloomy. While searching his fridge for a potential meal, he periodically stole several glances over the counter. In the living room, Ambre was still walking around, a bit wild, still on the defense. She explored this new environment by looking around, admiring the ornaments. Unfortunately, she didn't find much to pique her interest. It was a blonde house, almost too blonde.